This is Tim Talks About Everything, and today I'm going to talk about, you've heard the expression, beauty is only skin deep, but ugly goes right to the bone. We know that's not true, but what I want to know is, how about that ugly duckling rock that you picked up that has those little holes in it, or that geode that you picked up? What about the rocks that are ugly on the outside, but you just wonder, you're just curious, could that be beautiful on the inside? Today, we're gonna make some cuts. Sacrifices have to be made, and we're gonna make them. And we're gonna see if ugly goes right to the center core of that rock, or whether there's some beauty to behold.
What do we have here? Well, we have some crinoid calyxes that are geodized, so they're like a geode. We have some ancient sponges. We have some horn coral. We have some stinkstone. We have some beautiful pieces of quartz and some other, what I would say, sedimentary kind of rocks that are crystallized or have crystals in them of some variety or another. And if there's anything that has a hole in it, I'm always wanting to know, well, what about if I cut where that hole is? I wonder what I would be able to find. All right, let's get started with our first ugly duckling rock. So I'm going to start out with a couple of these crinoid calyxes. All right, so we'll see what happens. Let's give it a try. Okay, now we're talking. That's really cool inside, isn't it? Oh, baby. A lot of stuff going on there. It's amazing what minerals will do if you leave them alone for long, long periods of time. This I picked up because of the color. And I was just picking up a lot of things. I kind of like this pattern, and especially that right there. I thought that looked interesting. So I picked it up, brought it home, and you see that, the way that is. I thought that looked interesting. So I thought, well, this has possibilities. So when I opened it up, look at that. Some fascinating banding there along the edge there and over here. It does look kind of like a good steak in some ways, but it definitely looks better on the inside than it did on the outside. And so I think that was a win. Here's a couple that when I cut them apart, the other part just crumbled. So I thought, okay, I'll just take a look at these as singles, and they ended up pretty gorgeous. Now this one especially I thought was pretty, and then this one is interesting in a darker kind of way, but definitely a lot better on the inside than on the outside. The outside is interesting, otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up. Next on the chopping block, just a simple geode. Nothing special. It was kind of one of those things where you get to the point where you pick up a lot of big geodes, and then you don't want any more big geodes because they're pretty heavy and it's a lot to carry. And so I just started picking up little geodes so that maybe I could give them away, maybe to kids at church that are interested in rocks, because you always want to recruit more geologists. So cut it open, and I was surprised. Now the thing that was surprising is all these little eyes here around the edge. Can you see that? And I thought it was just a solid because it didn't make any noise and it seemed kind of heavy, kind of appropriate weight. And it turns out it was pretty gorgeous on the inside. So especially with those little eyes, I thought that was definitely a win. Next on the chopping block, let's take a look at this horn coral. So nothing special about this horn coral. It's typical. You pick up hundreds of these if you're interested in them. On the inside, though, I thought that was pretty amazing, all that intricate webbing. And so I thought, okay, now this might be worthy of polishing. I mean, it is pretty interesting. And with the horn coral and any of these corals, it's not that hard to hand sand them, so you don't have a lot of investment in polishing. Okay, next I have this other little geode, kind of an ugly little geode. Again, I just was picking up little ones. I thought, you know, might as well pick up some little ones. They're easy to carry home. And so then when I open it up, pretty amazing look. Again, I thought it was a solid, and it's not. There's some nice little crystal action going on in there, very sparkly. And a nice little cavity there. It definitely has some interest to it. So, I mean, it's not like some of the most beautiful agates you've ever seen, but still considering the outside and the inside, it's pretty nice. Next on the chopping block, I had this crazy little horn coral. I thought, okay, it's got some matrix, it's kind of beat up, it's not in great shape. I'll sacrifice that. So, open it up. What do we have? It turns out that it's really pretty fascinating. And that matrix is full of other fossils. So I think particularly in this area, you see that semicircle there. I think it's going to be interesting to sand this down. I'll do a little bit of hand sanding, and I think it's going to end up being a pretty fascinating little piece. Something to sit on the desk. And considering how it started out, that's definitely a win. All right, this is a Solidified stroma. You know what I'm talking about? You know the thing. It's a sponge, and it is gorgeous on the inside. I love those layers. Very attractive. I could tell from just looking at the outside that it would be pretty fascinating on the inside. Even though it was kind of ugly, I could see the pattern there. And I knew what it was, even though I can't say the thing. But pretty nice ugly duckling, I would say. All right, what would you call this? I would call it a conglomerate. Not a pudding stone or anything like that, but a conglomerate nonetheless. A lot of different little pieces, a little piece of gravel in there. And what is it going to look like on the inside? It actually is pretty nice. I mean, it's not the most spectacular thing, but it's got some good color, and I especially like the purple. Not bad. Okay, now this one, on Facebook, I was calling this a calyx, a crinoid calyx. And I got a little bit of pushback on that maybe it was something else. Now, there is some kind of amazing pattern going on there. And this over here, I thought looked pretty solidified. So that was just a guess, really. And that's revealing there. That was enough for me to want to cut it open. So when I cut it open, this is what I found. And again, it's pretty doggone fascinating. All right, this one looked like another little geode, but I personally thought it might be another crinoid calyx. It just has enough pattern to it, and the shape, and I was finding a lot of other crinoid calyxes, and I thought, okay, that's what this is. Now maybe not, maybe it's just a little geode, but I thought, okay, I'm going to cut this open, see what's inside. And that's what we have inside. I don't know. Some people go for goth. I'm not really into goth, but on the dark side of the inside of a geode, yeah, that's kind of cool. So, I mean, I think it's worth taking a look at, and I'll probably hang on to that one. All right, we have another very interesting rock. I mean, you pick it up because of the holes, because of the shapes, because of the patterns. What does it look like on the inside? Well, what we can see there is minerals came in, it looks like through there, and just did what they wanted to do. Now, there's no self-organizing going on that I can see, but at the same time, it's still pretty fascinating. This one I picked up mainly because of that right there. I thought there might be something going on. And I also like this little spot right here. So when I opened it up, yeah, it's got some crystals in there. They're nice color. Interesting. Some little eyes up here around the edge. All right, here's another one that I would consider to be a crinoid calyx. Correct me if I'm wrong. I won't mind that. Just looking at the pattern, looking at the shape on the inside. This was great. Look at this down here. Look at that. I like it. That's interesting. All right, this is the last horn coral I'm going to show you. I do kind of like that, although you find that a lot. And it was cracked here already. It was just asking to be cut up, so I granted its wish. And this is what I ended up with. And it's pretty cool. You can see quite a bit of the intricacies of the inside. Yeah. So that's the last of the horn coral. Okay, I wasn't going to cut this one up, but I got carried away and just started cutting and cutting and cutting. I kind of like the shape of it, and again, I thought that was a calyx of a crinoid. So I opened it up, and look at that baby inside. That is pretty. Yeah, on there especially, that end, and that eye in the middle. Quite a bit of interesting stuff going on in there. Minerals doing what they do without interference. All right, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but another little geode that I thought was a crinoid calyx. But in any case, let's open it up and see what's inside. Now, this one isn't spectacular, but this part right here in the middle, that to me is gorgeous. It looks like just the beginning of a flame that's starting. This down here is kind of pretty too. Just kind of a starburst type look. All right, this little guy, I thought, man, that's too small. That's not even worth cutting. But it is kind of an ugly duckling, so voila. It looks like the inside of a nut, doesn't it? It's kind of cool. I'm glad I cut it open. maybe something to give away. Almost looks like a marble, but it's not a marble. I know for one thing, the next time I go to the place where I pick these guys up, I'm going to pick up a whole bunch more of them so that I can cut them open. So you see these patterns, and you see that. What does it look like on the inside? To me, it looks like a sunrise. It's just gorgeous, just gorgeous. I don't know what that mineral is, but it's pretty. And you can kind of see the minerals, you know, they're coming in and they're settling and they're crystallizing. Fascinating, just fascinating. All right, this is the last one. I don't even know why I brought this one home. I mean, after all, look at it. It's just a rock. And you turn it over and yeah, there's a little bit that looks like it's peeling off there. See, you know, that looks like that's peeling off. So that, well, maybe there's something inside. I'll just take it home, cut it open. And that's what it is on the inside. And I love this one. This is the one that I'm going to get polished. I don't polish very much, but I'll send this off if I can find somebody cheap enough. And I love that red right there. Now you see it's not over here on this side, so I'll have to be careful to keep from getting rid of that red, but I love how that just kind of fades in different colors. It's just gorgeous in my opinion. That could sit on a desk and look great. I didn't do a very good job sawing that open, but hopefully when it's polished, it'll really shine. Well, this is Tim Talks About Everything. I'm done with this tour. I'm glad you hung around to see the best one, in my opinion. And tune in another time. I'll be doing more of these videos.